Chris Brown, Steve Tasker with you, and we welcome in now my broadcast partner on the Bills Radio Network, Eric Wood, who's also the host of the Centered on Buffalo podcast. Eric Wood's appearance is presented by Campbell's Chunky Soup. Big, craveable favorites collide in Chunky Soup's new Mac line, featuring flavors like Buffalo-style Chicken Mac, Chili Dog Mac, and Beefy Mac. Stock up for game day now at your local Wegmans. Chunky, the soup that eats like a meal. All right, Eric, we'll get into the pomp and circumstance of the final game in Highmark Stadium in a second here. But I think there's an underlying thing to take out of this game. And for me, it's the performance of the second stringers in this football game, whether it's Ray Davis, Mitch Trubisky, that second offensive line with Osiris Torrance being the only starter playing in that game. They didn't play well. They flat out dominated. How encouraging is that if the depth is tested somewhere in the playoffs going forward?
Yeah, it's extremely encouraging. The depth that they built on this offensive line, I think, is second to none in the NFL. They've done a great job developing these young guys. And fortunately for the Bills, they haven't had to use it a whole lot. We've seen Alec Anderson and Ryan Vandermark have to step in this year. But fortunately, knock on wood, been able to stay fairly healthy. But you rush for over 200 yards and don't give up a sack in a game where you got guys kind of playing all over because of necessity and getting those guys in there. And I thought they played phenomenal up front. And then when you look at Ray Davis, when you look at Mitch Trubisky, was as sharp as I've seen him in years. And so it's encouraging. Now, this is a Jets team that's been getting destroyed as of late. They lose their fifth straight game by over 20 points. But it's an NFL football game. These are mainly our backups going against, some of their starters and guys that, might be fringe NFL players, but they're NFL ball players. So encouraged by what I saw on the offense side of the ball, and I thought some of the younger receivers stepped up as well. Keon Coleman played better yesterday. Gabe Davis had some nice catches. We saw Dalton Kincaid come alive early in that one before we were talking on the broadcast. Okay, now time to put him in some bubble wrap here. Latu made some plays. It was a fun performance that defensively they carry a shutout midway through the fourth quarter. It just flat out dominated that Jets offense. So, we wanted to end that game with a win yesterday for multiple reasons. One, the final game at Highmark Stadium, but then also you give yourself a chance to the higher seed, and they end up nabbing that 6th seed.
And, Eric, as you look at the rosters and how this played out, certainly it gives Bills fans anyway, if not the coaching staff and the players themselves, some confidence going into the playoffs that they are ready. I mean, certainly – not only did they play well and they dominated, certainly maybe the physicality of the Jets wasn't there like an NFL team, a playoff team would be. But, man, oh, man, they knew their assignments and they understood it.
They did, yeah. Just focusing on the defense side of the ball right now, you have T.J. Sanders get his first sack. I've been encouraged by his performance since he's been able to move back to the 3 technique. Fedarian Mathis continues to play at a high level. Buffalo Joe and Dorian Williams making plays at the second level of that defense. They played great, but you get Deion Walker out there as well yesterday. So you're getting some further development from these young guys that you are going to have to play those guys come playoff time just based upon the rotations of the defense in that defensive front.
And, we talked about how the depth on the offensive side of the ball was encouraging. The depth might be tested yet again on defense, depending on what Max Hairston's injury looks like. So in the event that he is not fit to play this week, we know Jamarcus Ingram is no longer on this roster. They might have to dip into their practice squad. We know Dane Jackson is down there, but what do you think of that, knowing Jacksonville is the opponent who has an awful lot of speed on the outside?
They do. You'd love to have Hairston going against Washington, their leading receiver on the season, just based upon the speed matchup there. We'll see what the extent of that injury is, but that could potentially be a big loss here in the secondary. Still got Tre'Davious White, Christian Benford playing at a high level, and then you likely have to dip into Dane Jackson to get him ready to roll for this week. Yesterday, based upon the guys available, we saw Jordan Hancock pop out to the outside and show off some of his versatility that he brings, but it's not a situation you want to put a rookie into that's been primarily just playing safety throughout the season to make him bump out to outside corner.
So when you get this and you got this mentality, you got to go on the road in the playoffs. It's an enormous ask to win 3 road playoff games to get to the Super Bowl. And yet, you look around, certainly the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing as hot as anybody. But when you look at the field of the AFC, there's not too many teams standing in line to get the matchup against Buffalo with Josh Allen and the way this team is playing, and now with James Cook as the NFL's leading rusher.
Yeah, I'm with you. If the Bills are able to take care of business in a few of these games this year, then we're sitting here with the bye, or even the 2 seed where you're getting multiple home games. We'd be feeling really good about our chances about making it to the Super Bowl. It's tough to go on the road 3 games in a row, but certainly this Bills team's capable of doing it. Now, it's been a roller coaster ride this season, and some weeks you think, okay, which version of this Bills offense or defense is going to show up this week? And if they could put it all together, if they could put it together for 3 weeks, we'll be making travel plans out to San Francisco. But if we see a clunker of a half or 3/4 of a game from either side of the ball, like we've seen at times this year, it could be a quick exit. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out this week. Jacksonville, winners of 8 in a row. They've been taking the ball away at an extremely high rate. And then Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen has Trevor Lawrence playing the best ball of his career. And so they've been impressive. They got weapons all over the field on offense. Trevor Lawrence will use his wideouts on the outside, and their pass game has improved since picking up Jacoby Myers at the trade deadline. Strange, their tight end, has made a lot of plays this year. And then, especially in the red zone, they'll get Travis Etienne, the running back, involved in the pass game as well if they can get him matched up one-on-one against the linebacker.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jacksonville's ability to take the ball away. They led the AFC in takeaways with 31. That was good for second best in the league behind only Chicago. They're a plus 13 in the turnover margin. And we haven't even mentioned perhaps the most important quality of the Jaguars. They're the number 1 run defense in football. How much do you harbor concerns knowing that's strength on strength? Number 1 rushing team against the number 1 run defense.
There's concern because at times this year when you've been able to take away the Bills' run game, then we can't get the play action passes off of it, and we've seen this offense become pretty pedestrian. And so we'll see strength for strength how this plays out. The Bills are back to the number 1 rushing offense of football. They have the official rushing champ from this year, James Cook, after Derrick Henry puts up over 100 in the first half and then doesn't do a whole lot in the second half. So James Cook holds on for the rushing title, which is a huge point of pride for him. The offensive line, tight ends, everybody within that offensive room. It takes a lot of pride in having James Cook be able to hit those. But, looking at this Jacksonville team, you're going to have to try to establish the run, get the play action going off of it, and then guys are going to have to make some plays down the field. We saw Brandon Cooks come alive down the field 2 games ago, and we rested him yesterday, which is a sign, you kind of see where the pecking order sits when you see that Shavers and Cooks and Shakir, those are the guys that we didn't give any run to yesterday during the game.
One of the things you do in these games, Eric, is you try and take something away from the other team that they really depend on. You take away something, and one thing that would be probably the simplest, maybe the easiest to do, would be something that the Jaguars have thrived on, and that's just don't turn it over. If you can just have ball security in this game, you take away something that has really helped the Jaguars in their 8-game win streak.
Yeah, it is one of those deals where, watching some of their games this morning and trying to play some catch-up in preparation for this week leading up to the game, there's times where they do a great job of forcing the turnovers. They'll miss tackles going for the football, trying to rake it out, trying to punch. Ball security has got to be an emphasis throughout the week when you're carrying the ball, but they've also been just kind of an opportunistic defense where they play with so much effort on a snap basis that Denver 2 weeks ago, they fumble an exchange on a read option. Well, Jacksonville, because they play so hard, they're there to pick it up. You get a tipped ball. Well, it seems like their guys in the secondary are there to make the play on an interception. Well, a lot of that's just based upon the amount of effort they play with on a snap-to-snap basis.
Last one for me, Eric. We would be remiss if we did not mention the events that went on yesterday. Obviously, you and I had a job to do. Steve had to work yesterday as well, but there was time to kind of try to soak it all up and appreciate what that building has been, not only for your guys' playing careers, but for that matter, your broadcasting careers too. What were your feelings through the course of the day? Like how was the day for you?
It was pretty emotional. Just, from the second I passed through the security gates in the morning and talking to people that I've known since 2009 to going down in the field, I give the same woman a hug, and we guess the score every week for the home games. And just those little moments that, maybe they are recreated next year and we'll see those same familiar faces, but we might not. And then getting to be a part of the halftime deal was very special for me to be able to MC that. I joked with my wife that I'm glad I had the microphone and I was MCing that, because otherwise I might not have been involved in it. But it was really cool to be a part of that deal at halftime. And then after the game, I thought you did a remarkable job, Chris, of closing out the game in a proper way. An incredible outro for our final broadcast, likely from our home booth there. And so that, combined with the video and the music going, started getting the emotions going. And then I went down with a few buddies down to the field after the game, and we hung out for about 45, 50 minutes and just told stories. And I got to hang with the Pagula family and tell them about, growing up in Cincinnati. I was there when we moved from Old Riverfront Stadium into Paul Brown Stadium, and it didn't have the same feel. People weren't sitting in their seats for 45 minutes after the game, just not wanting to leave because they want to soak in those final moments. And so, look, this offseason, there's going to be plenty of excitement about moving into this brand new, beautiful building that I've gotten to take a tour of, and it's out of this world incredible. But I felt like yesterday, collectively as an organization, the Bills did an incredible job of honoring that building, and then the fans, of course, doing their part as they always do.
Good stuff, Eric. Thanks for being with us. Great broadcast. Good luck in Jacksonville on the road down there. Travel safe.
I appreciate it. You guys have a great week.